The city looked like a jagged shadow against the dark, bruised sky. It was the kind of New York night that made your bones ache and your heart feel heavy. Snowflakes began to fall, tiny at first, then thicker, until the streets were coated in white. It was after midnight, and even Manhattan, the city that never sleeps, had grown strangely quiet under the storm. Inside a shiny black Mercedes, Elias Thorne drove through the icy streets with calm focus. His hands, usually holding million-dollar contracts and expensive pens, now gripped the wheel. He didn't really have a place to go, he just couldn't sleep. Something restless inside him always pushed him out at night. Then he saw it. A flash of blue at the bus stop. A shape sitting all alone in the storm. Elias slowed down. It was a young woman. She wore thin scrubs and a coat that was far too light for the freezing cold. Snowflakes stuck to her dark hair, her shoulders were shaking, and she hugged a worn bag close to her chest. Everything about her looked tired, broken down, alone. Elias stopped the car. For a moment he just sat there. Then, with one sharp decision, he opened his door. The freezing air hit him like a slap, but he didn't care. His eyes stayed on her. His footsteps crunched in the snow as he walked closer. She didn't notice him until he was right there. Her head shot up, eyes wide with fear. "You're coming with me," he said firmly. Her voice was soft, shaky. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Elias's face was calm but steady. "I'm not leaving you here. Not in this storm." She stood up quickly, her legs stiff. "I'm fine. The bus will come." Her teeth chattered so badly the words sounded weak. "There won't be another bus tonight," Elias said, scanning the empty street. "No taxis, no trains. You're wearing scrubs in a blizzard. You'll freeze out here." "I'll manage," she whispered, clutching her thin coat. He didn't move closer, but his presence was impossible to ignore. Then, without another word, Elias slipped off his cashmere overcoat and held it out to her. "Put this on." She froze. Her amber eyes searched his face. He didn't look dangerous. Just steady. Certain. Slowly she reached for the coat. It was heavy, soft, and warm. The moment she wrapped it around herself, the cold eased just a little. "I can take you home," Elias said, his voice gentler now. "Where do you live?" "Queens," she answered carefully. "Too far. No one will drive there tonight. My car is warm. You can sit in the back if you want. But you're not staying here." She looked at him again. His eyes were sharp blue, his face all angles and strength. He looked like someone from another world, someone who had never waited at a bus stop in his life. Her body made the decision before her mind did. She was too cold. Too tired. "All right," she murmured. Elias nodded and opened the passenger door for her. She slid inside. The car was warm, soft, and quiet. A world away from the storm. She clutched his coat tightly, watching him circle back to the driver's seat. Snowflakes clung to his dark hair as he got in beside her and pulled away from the curb. The car moved smoothly through the snowy streets. Neither of them spoke. Two strangers, bound by a strange twist of fate. Lily, her name was Lily, hugged the coat tighter. It smelled faintly of something expensive, but also safe. She glanced sideways at Elias. He was focused on the road, his profile sharp in the glow of the dashboard. Power radiated from him. "Thank you," she whispered. He didn't look at her. "No need. You were freezing." "Still," she said softly. "Most people wouldn't have stopped." The corner of his lips curved just slightly. "I am not most people." Silence filled the car again. Lily leaned back, exhaustion pressing down on her. 14 hours at the hospital. Emergency after emergency. Missed meals. Missed buses. Life always hanging by a thread. Bills piling up. Collectors calling. Elias guided the Mercedes into an underground garage. The walls gleamed with polished stone and soft lights. Lily's eyes widened. This wasn't a normal building. "You live here?" she asked. "For now," he replied simply. He parked the car, then turned to her. "Come on. You're staying here tonight." She blinked, startled. "Wait, what?" "It's not a question," Elias said firmly, already stepping out of the car. "You need to rest." I have more than enough space. Lily's instinct screamed. This is crazy. You can't just stay with a stranger. Her voice wavered. I can't stay at a man's place I don't even know. He stopped by her door, his eyes holding hers with a steady, unshakable force. No strings. I'll take the guest room. Lock the door if you want. But you're not going back into that storm. She bit her lip. Half of her wanted to run. The other half, exhausted, frozen, and remembering the biting cold of that bus stop bench, wanted to believe him. Slowly, almost against her will, she stepped out of the car. The penthouse stole her breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretched across the living room, showing the snow-covered city sparkling below. Warm lights glowed softly, bouncing off polished stone and smooth lines of elegant furniture. A huge fireplace crackled, filling the silence with gentle warmth. It was powerful, beautiful, yet strangely peaceful. The room on the left, Elias said, pointing down the hall. There are clothes in the dresser. Too big but warm. She turned, her voice softer now. Why are you doing this? He shrugged, barely moving. Because I can. And because I have a conscience. That answer lingered in her chest as she slipped into the guest room. The bed was perfectly made, the sheets crisp and clean. The whole room smelled faintly of lavender and fresh linen. It felt simple, lived in, but untouched, like a place waiting for something more. 15 minutes later, wrapped in an oversized gray t-shirt and sweatpants that nearly swallowed her, Lily crept back into the living area. She only wanted some water, but froze at the doorway. Elias was at the stove. Not ordering food. Not with a chef. But cooking. Himself. He glanced up. I figured you might be hungry. She blinked in surprise. What are you making? Ramen, he said as if it were nothing. Nothing fancy. Just warm. She stepped closer, staring. In the soft light, with his expensive shirt swapped for a plain t-shirt, he didn't look like Ito anymore. Just a man. A man who had stopped in the snow to help her. A man who made her noodles at 2 a.m. She sat at the counter, watching him quietly. He set a steaming bowl in front of her, then handed her chopsticks. Her voice trembled with honesty. Not what I expected. His blue eyes caught hers, unreadable but steady. Neither are you. The next morning, sunlight poured through the tall windows, spilling golden light over the city. Lily woke slowly, cocooned in sheets softer than anything she had ever owned. For one sweet moment, she forgot where she was. Then the memories hit. The storm, the Mercedes, the stranger who cooked her ramen. In the kitchen, she found a note written in neat, precise handwriting. There's cab money on the table. Leave whenever you're ready. If you want to see me again, call. A crisp $100 bill sat beneath it. Beside that, a business card. Elias Thorne Enterprises. Her chest tightened. She knew the name. She had seen it on magazine covers. Heard it whispered in finance news. A billionaire. Of course. She took the money, but left the card. 3 days passed. She didn't call. But on the fourth night, while volunteering at a hospital's free health fair, she saw him. He was standing at the back of the crowded hall, tall and still in a charcoal gray coat. No bodyguards. No spotlight. Just watching. And when his eyes found hers, he didn't look away. Lily was guiding an elderly woman into a chair for her free checkup. The woman wore a thin shawl, her hands trembling, her eyes tired. Gently, Lily spoke to her, wrapping the blood pressure cuff with soft care, as if she were family. From across the room, Elias watched. His face didn't change much, but something inside him clearly did. When the fair began to quiet, Lily turned and froze. He was still there, waiting. She walked over slowly. You followed me here? She teased, though her voice carried a nervous edge. No, Elias said, voice low and steady. I fund this program every year. I just didn't expect to see you here. Her lips curved faintly. Here I am. He glanced at the crowded hall. You volunteer after 14-hour shifts? She shrugged. People need help. I know what it feels like to be invisible. He grew quiet, something flickering in his gaze. My mother was a nurse. She used to bring me to events like this when I was little. I hated it then. But now, I understand. Lily tilted her head. You never mentioned that. There's a lot I don't mention, he admitted, a faint smile ghosting across his lips. For a moment, silence stretched between them. But it wasn't heavy, it was comfortable. Then he spoke. Coffee. Just coffee. No pressure. She hesitated. Her heart pulled one way, her head another. But curiosity won. She nodded. Coffee turned into a walk through Central Park, where the snow had started to melt, leaving the earth damp and fresh. They didn't talk about money or success. They talked about silly things, hospital food, half-finished books, sleepless nights. And then it became a pattern. Sometimes she would find him waiting at a quiet cafe, already holding her favorite tea. Sometimes a car would pull up after her shift, and she'd discover he'd sent it to bring her to him. Little things. Thoughtful things. They never called it dating. They never held hands. But it was real. It was something. Something more than she'd ever had. One night, as they sat on the stone steps of the New York Public Library, silent under the glowing street lamps, Lily finally turned to him. You're not at all what people say about Elias Thorne. Elias turned to her, his eyes steady. And you, Lily Bennett, are not what I expected either. She smiled softly. What do they say about me? That you care too much, that you're too selfless for your own good. She shook her head gently. It's not selfless. It's just being human. He studied her for a long moment. Then his voice dropped, low, almost like a secret. Maybe I'm just trying to remember mine. Lily didn't answer. She leaned back, gazing at the stars fighting through the city haze. And for the first time in a very long time, the night felt gentle. Elias Thorne had always lived inside silence. It was where he felt safe, where he felt most in control. His success had come fast, like a tidal wave, so fast it almost drowned him. By his 20s, he had built and sold a tech company. Then he jumped into high finance, where his sharp mind and cold precision earned him both fear and respect. But all the money in the world was empty. It didn't fill the quiet inside him. It only made it louder. He was 13 when his mother died. Her illness came quick and cruel, stealing her away before he could even understand what was happening. She had been gentle, kind, a woman who always fought for the forgotten, who always had a hug for her son, no matter how tired she was. His father was the opposite. A hard, ambitious lawyer, cold and distant. He didn't know what to do with a grieving boy. So he shipped Elias off to a boarding school and buried himself in work. Elias learned not to expect warmth, not to hope for kindness. He built walls around his heart, sharp and unbreakable. By 30, he was a billionaire. But the money never erased the ache of losing her. In his private office, among glass walls and dark wood, there was one photo he never moved. His mother, young and smiling in a way that made sorrow look impossible. When he met Lily, her kindness had hit him like a ghost. The way she cared for others, the way she carried herself, it reminded him of her. But he never told Lily this. Instead, he showed his care in silence. Through secret channels, he found out about her student loans and paid them off. Quietly, he created a nursing scholarship in her name. He noticed her hospital program was barely surviving during the winter. An anonymous donation arrived, enough to save it for years. He made sure she never saw the strings he was pulling. To her, he was just Elias. Quiet, reserved, generous only in small ways. She never knew how closely he followed her life. How often he sat quietly at the back of events she worked at. How once, in a storm, he waited hours in his car just to make sure she made it to her shift safely. He told himself it wasn't about control. It was about protecting her. About giving her the freedom to keep doing what she loved. He had seen what burnout did. He had seen it in his mother's eyes before the end. He would not let Lily carry that burden alone. Some nights, after walking her home or sharing a quiet coffee, he would return to his penthouse and look at his mother's photo. He thought of Lily's smile, of her laughter, of her stubborn kindness. You would have liked her, he whispered once to the photo. She reminds me of you. But he never said those words to Lily. Not yet. He was still learning how to unlock the part of himself he had buried long ago. the part that believed the world could be soft. And Lily was slowly breaking down those walls. Then came the night that nearly shattered him. The hospital hallways buzzed with fluorescent lights and the smell of antiseptic. Nurses rushed by. Doctors barked orders. Machines beeped like tired hearts. And in room 412, Lily lay still. Her skin pale, her breathing shallow. Her dark hair fanned across the pillow like spilled ink. She had collapsed in the middle of her shift. 18 hours without food, a double shift, and another still ahead of her. Her body finally gave out. By the time her coworkers caught her, she was unconscious. Her file listed no family. No one to call. But someone came anyway. Elias's black Mercedes pulled into the hospital lot within 20 minutes. He walked inside, his presence so heavy the staff turned to stare. They didn't know who he was, not really, but they felt it. This was a man who only appeared where life and death collided. He opened the door to her room. And froze. Lily looked so small. Too small. The 4-line dripped quietly beside her, a thin thread trying to make up for all her body had lost. Her chest rose and fell in painful, uneven breaths. Elias walked forward slowly and sat down at her side. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just reached for her hand. It was cold. He held it between both of his, remembering how his mother once did the same when he was sick. He closed his eyes. 2 hours passed before Lily stirred. Her lashes fluttered, her eyes opening weakly. The first thing she saw was him, Elias, sitting there, sleeves rolled, tie undone, his perfect hair messy from running his hands through it. Her voice cracked. "What?" "You passed out," he said, his voice tight. "You're dehydrated. You're starving." She blinked. "Oh, is that all you have to say?" His voice broke, and when she looked at him fully, she saw his storm-dark eyes brimming with something raw. She tried to sit up. "It's not a big deal. I just pushed too hard." "A little?" His voice snapped sharp. He shot to his feet, pacing, his fist tight. "You work 2 jobs. You don't eat. You don't sleep. You think that's nothing?" She flinched, not from pain, but from the anger in his voice. "Elias!" "No," he cut her off. His chest heaved, his control slipping. "You should have told me. I could have helped. I would have helped." Her eyes filled with tears. Her voice cracked. "I didn't want help. Since I was 16, I've only had myself. No one shows up. No one stays. And I didn't want to owe you. I didn't want you to look at me like I was broken." He stopped, turning slowly. Lily's tears spilled as she whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to fall apart like this." "You're not falling apart," Elias said, his voice suddenly soft. All the sharpness was gone, replaced with something deeper, steadier. "You've been holding the world together with your bare hands." Lily's eyes filled, her heart exposed. Slowly, Elias sat back down. This time, he didn't just hold her hand. He gripped it tightly, like he was afraid to lose her. His voice was low but firm. "Not anymore. From now on, your burdens are mine too." She stared at him shocked. He wasn't claiming her. He wasn't trying to own her. He was making a vow. And for the first time in forever, Lily felt seen. Truly cared for. Not because she begged for it. Not because she earned it. But because someone refused to let her carry her pain alone. Their lives shifted quietly, almost without words. There was no proposal. No big announcement. Just a moment when Elias offered to drive her home, and Lily had whispered, "I don't really live there anymore, do I?" He gave one small nod. That was enough. From then on, her life folded into his. Her scrubs hung next to his expensive suits. Her floral toothbrush leaned against his sleek electric one. He cleared a kitchen drawer for her teas and left a soft blanket on the sofa because she always felt cold. But still, no "I love yous." No candlelit nights. No arms around her in the dark. Elias slept on the sofa. At first, she thought it was courtesy. Then maybe discomfort. But soon she saw it clearly, fear. He wanted closeness, but he didn't know how to let it in. Elias showed his care in small, unspoken ways. Every night shift, a warm container of soup waited for her in the hospital fridge, with a simple note, "Eat, please. A candid photo of her, laughing in Central Park, sat framed on his desk, where no one else ever entered. When she once forgot her coat, a courier appeared with a brand new one. Far too expensive. He never said, "I miss you." But he began canceling meetings just to walk her to work. Lily knew he cared, but she didn't know if he knew how to show it. There was still a wall between them. A quiet, invisible wall she couldn't break through. One evening, after a long, draining shift, Lily walked into the penthouse. The fire was lit. Her book waited on the sofa. But Elias wasn't there. She found him in his office, staring out at the glittering city. On his desk sat two photos, his mother, smiling softly, and Lily, laughing. Her voice was gentle. "You always look at that photo when something's wrong." He didn't turn. "It helps me remember." "Remember what?" His silence stretched, heavy. "Then, that people like her, and people like you, still exist." Her throat tightened. She whispered, "Elias, what are we doing?" He turned at last, guarded. "What do you mean?" She motioned between them. "We live together. We share meals. We talk. But we don't touch. We don't say what we feel. Do you even want me here?" "I want you here," he said too fast, too fiercely. "Then why does it feel like I'm just a guest in your life?" Her voice cracked, breaking. "Why won't you let me in?" His jaw locked. His voice low. "Because when I let people in, they leave." "I'm not people," she said, firm through her trembling. "I'm me. I know." His voice was raw now. "That's what makes it harder." She looked at him for a long, aching moment. Then, softly, "I love you, Elias. I think I have for a while." His eyes widened. Startled. But no words came. The silence stretched, heavy as stone. Her lips trembled into a sad smile. "That's okay. You don't have to say it. But I can't keep waiting for a man who doesn't know if he's allowed to feel." Her footsteps were soft as she turned and walked out. That night she packed. Elias didn't stop her. He stood frozen in the hallway, his hand braced on the doorframe, his body tight as if every muscle was fighting itself. His lips parted, but no sound came. When the door clicked shut, the silence left behind wasn't soft anymore. It was sharp, shattering. The days that followed hollowed him out. The fire stayed cold. Her blanket untouched. Her cup abandoned in the sink. Her scent lingered faintly on his coat, haunting him. He drifted like a ghost through his own penthouse. Meetings blurred. Investors called and were ignored. A merger, worth millions, was postponed. Something he had never done in 15 years of business. His assistant knocked one afternoon, voice careful. "Mr. Thorne, the Tokyo board is waiting for confirmation." He stared at Lily's photo on his desk, the one where she was laughing. He couldn't move it. Couldn't even touch it. "Cancel it," he said flatly. "Sir." "Cancel it," he snapped, suddenly fierce. He grabbed his coat and stormed out. He couldn't sit still. He needed to find her. It was snowing lightly when he reached the hospital. The storm whispered against the streets as he pushed inside, his chest tight. At the front desk he asked for her. The nurse checked the screen, then frowned. "Lily Bennett," she transferred. "About 2 weeks ago." His heart dropped. "Transferred?" "Yes." "She's no longer here. She didn't leave a forwarding address." Elias stood frozen, the world spinning around him, doctors rushing, machines beeping, but he heard nothing. "She didn't even say goodbye," he whispered, broken. The nurse looked at him softly. "Are you family?" The word caught in his throat. After a long pause, he answered quietly, "No, I guess not." Elias stepped out of the hospital, the cold air biting at his skin. Snowflakes melted on his coat and disappeared without a trace. He walked to the center of the empty courtyard, surrounded by bare trees and silent benches. His chest tightened, a hollow ache filling him. He lifted his face to the falling snow, his eyes stinging. "She was the only thing," he whispered, his voice breaking, "the only thing that made me human." And the snow kept falling just like his tears. Winter came again to New York. The snow was softer this time, gentler, as if the city itself was remembering. It had been a year since Lily walked away. A year since she left the man who didn't yet know how to love out loud. She had changed. She was stronger now, standing tall as the head nurse of a busy hospital upstate. People relied on her, admired her. But in the quiet nights, with a cup of tea warming her hands, her thoughts drifted back. Back to him. Back to the words he never said. Then came the call. Her aunt had suffered a small stroke, and Lily returned to the city to care for her. She moved into a modest apartment near the Upper East Side, telling herself it was only temporary. One snowy morning, while wandering the streets, she stepped into a flower shop she used to love. The little bell above the door chimed. And there he was, Elias, his back to her, still holding a stem of white tulips. She froze, turned, their eyes locked, and for one breathless moment, the world itself seemed to stop. He looked older, wiser, softer, but still undeniably him. He placed the flowers down and stepped toward her, close but not touching. His voice was low, steady, carrying a new weight. "You're coming with me," he said. The same words from a year ago, but now filled with something raw, something real. He paused, his blue eyes vulnerable. "If you still want to." "I never stopped waiting." Tears blurred her vision. Her chest shook with a sob. She nodded, unable to speak. He reached for her hand, holding it gently, reverently, as if afraid it might vanish. When their fingers finally laced together, it wasn't fragile anymore. It was certain. A promise. He brought her home. Not to the cold, gleaming penthouse, but to a warm, sunlit apartment near Central Park. It was filled with her things, her blanket on the sofa, her photo on the shelf, her teas tucked neatly in a drawer. "You kept everything," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I kept you," he said, his thumb brushing softly over her hand. 6 months later, they married in the garden of Elias's restored family home. It was a soft summer morning, the air filled with the scent of roses and the sound of laughter. The guests were few but dear, colleagues, friends, patients who had seen their story unfold. Among them was the elderly woman Lily once cared for at the health fair, the very moment Elias had first truly seen her. Tears streamed down his face as he stood and spoke. "She's always been an angel," he said, his voice trembling with joy. "And now, she's found her guardian." Elias turned to Lily, his vows spoken without notes, only from the heart. "I didn't know how to love before you. But I promise, every day, I'll learn with you." Lily touched his cheek, her eyes shining. "We'll learn together." That night, long after the last guest had gone, they sat wrapped in one blanket on the porch of their new home. A summer storm rumbled gently in the distance. Lily leaned against him, smiling. "I never thought a freezing night at a bus stop would bring me home." Elias kissed her hair, then tilted her face toward him, his voice a whisper. "That night," he said, his eyes full of love he no longer feared to show, "I didn't save you. You saved me." And that was the story of a freezing night, a silent man, and the woman who taught him how to love. Sometimes, the people who save us don't arrive with grand gestures. They come in quiet kindness. In a bowl of late-night ramen. In a hand held tightly in the cold. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love can begin in the unlikeliest of moments, please don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories for more real-life inspired tales that heal, uplift, and stay with you long after the screen fades. Until next time, stay warm, stay kind, and remember, sometimes the smallest encounter can change everything.